All right, so we're going to look at job order cost information. So we can evaluate the performance of a manufacturing process by using these job cost sheets. So if we look at job 54 and job 63, both jobs were manufacturing 40 Jazz Series guitars, but in job 63 we used 500 feet of wood, where job 54 we only used 400 board feet. Why is that? And that's the kind of insight these job cost sheets can give managers. So here's some possible reasons that managers could figure out. You could have inexperienced labor. They're not, they can't cut the wood as well, so they have to use a little bit more. Poor quality materials. Maybe the wood's not as good and there's knots in the boards and they have to use better pieces. Maybe the cutting tools needed repair. Maybe they were cutting a piece of wood and the saw broke. It ruined a whole piece and they had to use another one. Maybe the employees were careless and don't care. Maybe they didn't know what. So now we can look at a service business that can use the job order cost. So it's good for planning and controlling operations just like it is for a manufacturing business. And typically for a service business you have direct labor and overhead. You don't have materials because you're not building something when you're a service building. You're providing a service. And then you have, when jobs are completed, you have a cost of services account, which is a lot like your cost of goods sold for manufacturing. And you don't have a finished good account because the service has been provided. So you can't provide the service, then wait to provide the service at the same time. It all with a service business, it all happens at the same time. So here's a flow. So we have our wages, we have direct labor, indirect labor, and we have supplies used. So we could still have some supplies. So if we look at Delta Airlines, for instance, there could be some miscellaneous supplies used to provide the service. So our direct labor, you can see, goes from wages to our work in process. Our indirect labor goes down to overhead. Our supplies go to overhead. So then our work in process will have direct labor, our applied overhead, and then we move our completed jobs over to cost of services, which is similar to cost of goods sold. The difference here is that manufacturing companies have materials and a finished goods inventory, where service companies typically only have direct labor and overhead, and there's no finished goods for services. It's just cost of services. So you skip a step. Remember, manufacturing, we go from work in process to finished goods to cost of goods sold. Well, here you go from work in process to cost of services. You cut out that part in the middle for finished goods.